The notification chimed at 11:47 p.m. on my 39th birthday. I was sitting in my home office finishing up a security audit for a client's network infrastructure when my phone buzzed against the desk. The message came from an unknown number, no text, just a video file attachment. I almost deleted it. In my line of work as an IT security contractor, random attachments usually mean trouble. But something made me hesitate. Maybe it was the timing, or maybe it was the fact that someone had gone through the effort to send me something on my birthday when most people had forgotten entirely. I opened the file. The video quality was crisp, shot from what looked like a phone camera positioned on our bedroom dresser. I recognized our master bedroom immediately. The navy blue comforter Zoya had insisted on buying last spring, the abstract art she'd hung above our headboard, the reading lamp I'd assembled wrong 3 times before getting it right. What I didn't recognize was my wife of 16 years, wrapped around another man. Vikram Doshi, her first boyfriend from college. The one she'd mentioned casually over the years, always with that little smile that suggested unfinished business. He was thicker now than in the old photos I'd seen, but still had that cocky grin that probably worked on every woman he met. They were in my bed, on my sheets, using my pillows. I watched the entire thing with the detached fascination of someone observing a traffic accident. My brain cataloged details automatically, the timestamp showing it was recorded 3 days ago, the metadata indicating it came from Zoya's phone, the way she moved like she'd done this before. But the real punch came at the end. Mira, my 16-year-old daughter, knocked on the bedroom door. In the video, Zoya quickly threw on a robe while Vic ducked into our bathroom. Mira entered, chatting about some drama at school, completely oblivious to what had just happened. Then she hugged him when he emerged, already dressed. "I wish you were my dad instead," she said, clear as daylight. "You actually listened to me." Vic glanced at the camera. He knew it was recording, and smiled. "Maybe someday, kiddo." The video ended. I sat there for exactly 90 seconds, staring at the black screen. Then I got to work. First, I copied the file to 3 separate locations: my secure cloud storage, an encrypted external drive, and a backup server I maintained for clients. I extracted the metadata, confirming the timestamp, location data, and device information. Everything pointed to Zoya's iPhone 14, recorded in our bedroom at 2:30 p.m. last Tuesday while I was at a client meeting in downtown Minneapolis. I opened a new document and began drafting divorce papers. Not the official legal filing, that would require an attorney, but a detailed outline of grounds for dissolution of marriage, adultery, parental alienation, willful destruction of the marital relationship. I attached still frames from the video, time-stamped and date-stamped, and uploaded everything to a secure client portal I'd set up years ago for sensitive document sharing. Then I changed every password on every shared account we had: cloud storage, streaming services, bank accounts, credit cards, investment portfolios. The family group chat had been Zoya's idea 2 years ago. "Better communication," she'd said. "Keep everyone in the loop." It included her parents, her brother Oleg, her sister Natasha, and Uncle Boris, who lived in Chicago. 43 people total, including cousins and family friends. I uploaded the video to a secure sharing platform, set it to expire in 24 hours, and sent the link to the group chat with a single message. "Filing for divorce Monday morning. Exhibit A attached, case number and attorney information to follow." The responses started immediately. Zoya's mother: "What is this? I don't understand." Uncle Boris: "Holy cow, Wilder. This is nuclear." Oleg: "You piece of garbage. How dare you embarrass our family like this?" Natasha: "Oh my God, Zoya. What were you thinking?" I screenshotted every response, saved them to my evidence folder, and forwarded them to the attorney I'd already researched and planned to contact first thing Monday morning. My phone started ringing at 12:15 a.m. Blocked number. "You manipulative piece of trash," Zoya's voice was shaking with rage. "How dare you send that to my family? Delete it right now." "Happy birthday to me," I said. "This is blackmail, Wilder. I'll tell everyone you're unstable. I'll get a restraining order. I'll make sure you never see Mira again." Interesting strategy. Threaten the guy who just caught you cheating with documented evidence. You don't understand what you're dealing with. Vic has connections. My family has money. You're just some computer nerd who thinks he's smart. I was recording the call, of course. Had been since the first ring. "I am smart, Zoya. Smart enough to know that parental alienation is a serious issue in custody cases. Smart enough to document everything. And definitely smart enough to know that threatening me on a recorded line isn't your best move right now." The line went quiet for a moment. "You recorded this call?" "I record everything now. New policy as of about an hour ago." "You can't use that in court. It's illegal. Minnesota is a one-party consent state. I can record any conversation I'm part of, but thanks for demonstrating that you're not as clever as you think you are." She hung up. I saved the audio file and added it to my evidence collection. At 12:30 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Oleg. "Watch your back, computer boy. Family protects family." I screenshotted that too. By 1 a.m., I'd created a comprehensive digital evidence package, changed the locks on all our accounts, and sent a detailed email to the attorney I'd selected based on his track record with high-conflict divorces and parental alienation cases. I was about to head to bed when I heard a car pull into our driveway. Then another. Through the window, I could see police lights. 2 officers approached the front door. I opened it before they could knock. "Mr. Sornell, we received a call about a domestic disturbance. Your wife says you've been threatening her and she's afraid to come home." I smiled and gestured toward the security camera mounted above our front door. "Officers, I've been in my home office all evening. Haven't left the house since I got back from work at 6 p.m. I can show you the footage if you'd like. I can also show you the documented evidence of adultery I discovered tonight, the divorce paperwork I've prepared, and the recorded phone conversation where my wife threatened me approximately 40 minutes ago." The older officer raised an eyebrow. "You recorded your wife threatening you?" "I record everything now. New policy. Would you like to hear it?" They exchanged glances. "Sir, we just need to make sure there's no immediate danger here." "The only danger is to my marriage, which ended the moment I received a video of my wife cheating on me in our bed. But I understand you have to follow protocol. Come in, I'll show you whatever you need to see." 20 minutes later, after reviewing security footage that clearly showed I'd been home alone all evening and listening to portions of Zoya's threatening phone call, the officers left with a report that would become part of my evidence file. I poured myself a scotch, the good stuff Zoya had bought me for my birthday 3 years ago, and I'd been saving for a special occasion. This seemed special enough. My phone kept buzzing with messages from the family group chat, but I'd seen enough for one night. Tomorrow, I'd start the real work. Tonight, I was going to finish my drink and plan my strategy. Because if Zoya wanted to play games, I was going to show her what happened when you challenged someone who made a living outsmarting people for money. The war had officially begun. Monday morning arrived with the subtlety of a freight train. I was up at 5 a.m., showered, dressed, and reviewing my evidence files when Mira stumbled into the kitchen looking for coffee. "Dad? What's with all the police cars last night? Mom texted me from Aunt Natasha's saying you were having some kind of breakdown." I handed her a mug and studied her face. 16 years old, Zoya's green eyes, my stubborn chin. She had no idea her entire world was about to implode. "Your mother and I are getting divorced, Mira. I found out she's been having an affair." Her face went through several expressions: confusion, denial, anger. "That's ridiculous. Mom would never." "She would, and she did. I have video evidence." "You're lying." I pulled out my phone and showed her a single still frame. Nothing graphic, just Zoya and Vic sitting on our bed, clearly intimate. Mira stared at the screen for a long moment, then threw her coffee mug into the sink hard enough to chip it. This is your fault somehow. You probably drove her to it. By working 60-hour weeks to pay for this house and your private school? By being you. By being boring and sarcastic and never paying attention to anything that matters. She stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. I made a note to have my attorney subpoena her phone records. If Zoya was using our daughter as a messenger service, I wanted documentation. At 8 a.m. sharp, I was sitting in the office of Thomas Brennan, the attorney I'd researched. 55 years old, 23 years of family law experience, and a reputation for eating opposing counsel alive in high-conflict cases. Mr. Sornell, I've reviewed your preliminary evidence package. This is remarkably thorough for someone without legal training. I work in cybersecurity. Documentation is my job. The video evidence is damning, obviously. The recorded phone call where your wife threatens you is excellent, but I have to ask, how did you obtain the original video? Someone sent it to me anonymously. Any idea who? I have suspicions, but no proof yet. Brennan leaned back in his chair. Your wife's going to claim you hacked her phone or invaded her privacy somehow. Let her try. The metadata shows it was sent from a burner number that's already been disconnected. Whoever sent it covered their tracks well. And you're certain you want to pursue this aggressively? Divorce cases can get ugly, especially with this level of documented infidelity. Mr. Brennan, my wife recorded herself cheating on me, and somehow that video ended up in my possession. She's been poisoning my daughter against me. She called the police and filed a false report when I confronted her. This isn't about being aggressive. This is about protecting myself and my relationship with my daughter. Fair enough. I'll file the initial paperwork this afternoon. Expect your wife to respond quickly and harshly. He wasn't wrong. By noon, Zoya had hired Margaret Steinberg, a lawyer known for representing wealthy women in messy divorces. By 2 p.m., I received a cease and desist letter demanding I stop harassing Zoya and remove the video from all platforms. By 4 p.m., Zoya had posted on social media about going through a difficult time and asking for privacy and support while dealing with an unstable situation at home. The comments were predictably supportive of her. Zoya had always been good at managing her image. So sorry you're going through this. Stay strong, girl. You deserve better. If you need anything, we're here for you. I screenshotted everything and added it to my evidence file. At 6 p.m., my friend Paul knocked on my door with a six-pack and a grin. Paul Morrison had been my best friend since college. He'd gone into private investigation after a brief stint as a police officer, and he had the cynical sense of humor that comes from seeing too much human stupidity. So I hear you're officially joining the divorce club, he said, handing me a beer. Congratulations. The membership fees are terrible, but the freedom is worth it. Thanks for the support. I'm serious. I've been waiting years for you to realize that Zoya is a manipulative princess who treats you like her personal ATM. You could have mentioned that before I married her. Would you have listened? He had a point. What do you know about Vikram Doshi? I asked. Paul's expression shifted into professional mode. The gym owner? I can find out whatever you need to know. Why? He's the one sleeping with my wife. I want to know if there's anything useful in his background. Consider it done. What about the family? They rallying around Zoya? Her brother threatened me via text. Her parents are confused but starting to ask questions. Her sister seems genuinely shocked. And Mira? Completely bought into her mother's version of reality. Blames me for everything. Paul shook his head. Kids always side with the fun parent initially. Give it time. We spent the next hour reviewing my evidence and planning strategy. Paul agreed to do background checks on Vic and anyone else in Zoya's orbit who might be relevant. I agreed to keep documenting everything and avoid any direct confrontation that might make me look unstable. At 8 p.m., Zoya came home. I was ready for her. We need to talk, she said, walking into the living room like she owned the place. which, technically, she still did. "I'm recording this conversation," I said, holding up my phone. "Fine. Record away. I want you to hear this clearly. If you don't drop this divorce and delete that video, I will destroy you. I'll tell everyone you're abusive. I'll get a restraining order. I'll make sure you never see Mira again." Interesting strategy. Double down on the threats. It's not a threat, it's a promise. You think you're so smart with your computers and your evidence, but you don't understand how the real world works. People believe what they want to believe, and I'm much better at telling stories than you are. Maybe, but I'm much better at documenting the truth. She laughed, but it sounded forced. The truth? The truth is that you're a boring, emotionally unavailable husband who ignored his wife for years. The truth is that you care more about your computers than your family. The truth is that I found someone who actually pays attention to me. The truth is that you committed adultery and I have video evidence. Prove I didn't send that video myself. That stopped me cold. It was actually a clever argument. If she claimed she'd sent me the video as a way to ask for a divorce, it would complicate my case significantly. Why would you send me a video of yourself cheating? Maybe I wanted you to know. Maybe I was tired of sneaking around. Maybe I thought you deserved to see what you'd lost. I studied her face. She was improvising, but it wasn't a bad improvisation. And Mira saying she wished Vic was her father? Kids say things when they're upset. You know how angry she's been about your work schedule. So this is all my fault? I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying it's complicated, and if you try to make it simple by painting me as some kind of villain, you're going to lose. She was probably right about that. Divorce court wasn't about truth, it was about narrative, and Zoya had always been better at crafting narratives than I was. What do you want, Zoya? I want a quiet, civilized divorce, 50-50 custody, fair division of assets, no video evidence, no public drama, no family involvement. And if I don't agree? Then I'll make your life a living nightmare. I'll claim you're unstable. I'll say you threatened me. I'll turn Mira against you completely. And when it's all over, you'll have nothing. She stood up and smoothed her skirt. Think about it, Wilder. You have until Friday to decide. After she left, I sat in my living room for a long time, thinking about narratives and evidence and the difference between being right and being smart. Then I called Paul. I need that background check on Vic as soon as possible, I said. And I need you to look into something else. What's that? I need to know who sent me that video, because I don't think it was anonymous at all. Paul's background check on Vikram Doshi arrived Wednesday morning via encrypted email, and it was better than I'd hoped. Vic owned a boutique fitness studio called Elite Performance in the trendy Uptown district. On paper, it looked successful. High-end clientele, premium pricing, sleek marketing materials. But Paul had dug deeper. 3 lawsuits in the past 2 years, 2 from former business partners claiming financial impropriety, 1 from a client who'd been injured using faulty equipment, all settled out of court with non-disclosure agreements. More interesting was his personal history. 2 previous relationships that had ended badly, both with married women. One had resulted in a restraining order after he'd allegedly stalked the woman's family. The other had ended when the woman's husband confronted him publicly at his gym. Guy's got a pattern, Paul explained over coffee at a diner downtown. He targets married women, specifically ones with money and status. The gym is barely breaking even. He needs external income to maintain his lifestyle. So Zoya isn't his first married conquest. Not even close. And here's the interesting part. In both previous cases, the relationships ended when the women got serious about leaving their husbands. Vic likes the excitement of an affair, but he doesn't want the responsibility of an actual relationship. That's useful, but not necessarily actionable. Maybe not. But this might be. Paul slid a folder across the table. Inside were photos of Vic's gym, financial records, and what looked like a client roster. How did you get these? The beauty of running a small business is that you have to file a lot of paperwork with the city. Business licenses, health department inspections, tax records. Most of it's public information if you know where to look. I flipped through the documents. Elite Performance was hemorrhaging money. Behind the glossy facade, Vic was 3 months behind on rent and owed significant money to equipment suppliers. He's desperate, I said. Desperate enough to target a successful real estate agent with a wealthy husband. Wealthy is a stretch. To a guy who's about to lose his business, you're wealthy. That afternoon, I decided to visit Elite Performance myself. I'd never been there, despite Zoya's occasional suggestions that I try something new for fitness. Now I understood why she'd been pushing it. The gym was everything I'd expected. Exposed brick walls, expensive equipment, motivational quotes painted in trendy fonts. Vic was training a client when I walked in, a woman in her 40s wearing workout clothes that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. He saw me immediately. His expression shifted from professional charm to barely concealed hostility. "Can I help you?" "I'm shopping for a gym membership. Heard great things about this place." "We're pretty exclusive. Not sure it's the right fit." "Why don't you let me be the judge of that?" The woman he'd been training looked between us, sensing tension. Vic forced a smile. "Sarah, let's continue this session tomorrow. I need to handle some business." After she left, Vic dropped the pretense. "What do you want, Wilder?" "Just wanted to see where my wife spends her time. Nice place. Must be expensive to maintain." "Get out." "Actually, I'm curious about your business model. High-end equipment, prime location, small client base. The math must be challenging." His jaw tightened. I said get out. "Or what? You'll call the police? Tell them a potential customer was asking about membership rates?" I pulled out my phone and started recording. "This is a private business. I can refuse service to anyone." "Absolutely. You're right as a business owner. Of course, I imagine your other clients might be interested to know about your tendency to get involved with married women. Bad for the brand, don't you think?" "You're threatening me." "I'm making an observation. Public relations matter in a business like this. Word gets around quickly in the fitness community." I walked slowly around the gym, noting details. "Beautiful space. I bet the rent is substantial. What happens if you can't make payments? Do they let you keep the equipment?" Vic stepped closer, trying to intimidate me. He was bigger than me, more muscular, but I'd grown up with 3 older brothers. Physical intimidation had stopped working on me decades ago. "You have no idea what you're dealing with," he said. "Actually, I think I do. You're a small-time predator who targets married women for financial stability. You've done it before, and you're doing it again with my wife. The only difference is that this time, someone documented it. Prove it." "I don't have to prove anything. I just have to make people wonder. Social media is amazing that way. Rumors spread faster than facts." I headed toward the door, then turned back. "Oh, and Vic? Stay away from my daughter. That conversation you had with her on the video, that's called parental alienation, and it's taken very seriously in custody cases." I left him standing there, probably trying to figure out how much trouble he was actually in. The answer was, a lot. That evening, I created a comprehensive social media strategy. Nothing defamatory, nothing actionable, just strategic information sharing. I started with a post in a local business review group, looking for fitness recommendations, heard mixed things about Elite Performance in Uptown. Anyone have experience with them? The responses were immediate and enlightening. Several people mentioned Vic's unprofessional behavior with female clients. One person shared a story about equipment breaking during a session. Another mentioned that several trainers had quit recently. I didn't add anything to the conversation. I didn't need to. I'd simply asked a question and let other people provide the answers. Next, I reached out to the 2 women from Vic's past that Paul had identified. I didn't contact them directly. That would be harassment. Instead, I found their social media profiles and noted their connections. One of them was connected to several people in Zoya's real estate network. The other was married to a man who owned 3 restaurants in the Twin Cities area. I didn't contact anyone. I just filed the information away for future use. Thursday morning brought an interesting development. Zoya's sister Natasha called me directly. "Wilder, it's Tasha. Can we talk?" "I'm recording this call." "Fine. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." "Shoot. Is that video real? I mean really real? Not manipulated or edited or anything?" "It's real, Tasha. I had it analyzed by a digital forensics expert. No manipulation, no editing, no artificial intelligence. That's your sister in our bed with her ex-boyfriend." Silence for a long moment. "I can't believe she did this. I mean, I knew she was unhappy, but this..." "What do you mean you knew she was unhappy?" "She's been complaining about you for months, saying you don't pay attention to her, that you're always working, that she feels like a single mother. Did she mention Vic?" Another pause. "She said she'd been thinking about old friends, people from college. She asked me what I thought about reconnecting with people from the past." "And you told her what?" "I told her that married people don't reconnect with ex-boyfriends unless they're looking for trouble." Smart advice. She didn't take it. "Wilder, I love my sister, but what she did was wrong, and using Mira as a weapon is unforgivable. Are you willing to testify to that in court?" "I don't know. She's still my sister." "I understand. But Tasha, you should know, this isn't over. Zoya thinks she can threaten and manipulate her way out of this, but I'm not backing down." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to document everything, build an airtight case, and make sure the truth comes out. Your sister made a choice. Now she gets to live with the consequences." After I hung up, I added notes about the conversation to my evidence file. Zoya's own sister had warned her against reconnecting with Vic. That would be useful in court. Friday arrived with Zoya's deadline. She texted me at noon. "Have you made your decision?" I responded, "Yes, and I'll see you in court." Her response came immediately. "You're going to regret this." I screenshotted the exchange and forwarded it to my attorney. The war was about to escalate, and I was ready for whatever came next. Zoya's retaliation began Saturday morning with a Facebook post that was a masterpiece of manipulation. "Going through the hardest time of my life right now. Sometimes the people closest to you can become strangers, and you realize you never really knew them at all. Thank you to everyone who's reached out with support. It means more than you know. Please keep Mira in your thoughts. She's struggling with some very adult situations that no 16-year-old should have to deal with." Within hours, the comments were flowing. "Stay strong, beautiful. You deserve so much better. Thinking of you and Mira. If you need anything, call me. Some men just can't handle a strong, successful woman." I screenshotted everything, but I had to admire the strategy. She'd positioned herself as the victim without saying anything technically defamatory. She'd implied I was the problem without making specific accusations. And she'd brought Mira into it, painting our daughter as collateral damage from my unreasonable behavior. By Sunday, the narrative had spread through Zoya's social circle like wildfire. I started getting looks at the grocery store. Conversations stopped when I walked into the coffee shop where I usually worked on weekends. Monday morning brought the formal response to my divorce filing. Margaret Steinberg had earned her reputation. The document was 47 pages of aggressive legal maneuvering. Zoya was requesting sole custody of Mira, claiming I was emotionally unstable and potentially dangerous. She wanted the house, half my retirement accounts, and spousal support. She was also requesting a restraining order, claiming I'd been stalking and harassing her and her friends. The most damaging part was her counter-narrative about the video. She claimed she'd sent it to me herself as a cry for help after years of emotional neglect. She said she'd been desperately trying to get my attention, and that the affair was a symptom of a failing marriage, not the cause. It was brilliant, and it might actually work. I called Thomas Brennan immediately. She's good, he admitted after reviewing the filing. This is exactly the kind of response I'd expect from Margaret Steinberg. She's trying to flip the script, make you the aggressor and Zoya the victim. Can she do that? She can try. The question is whether we can prove otherwise. Do you have any evidence that contradicts her claim about sending the video voluntarily? I'm working on it. Work faster. We have a hearing in 2 weeks, and right now, her story is more sympathetic than yours. That afternoon, I drove to Elite Performance again. This time, I wasn't going inside. I was conducting surveillance. I parked across the street and waited. Paul had taught me the basics of surveillance years ago. Stay inconspicuous, document everything, be patient. At 3:30 p.m., Zoya's car pulled into the parking lot. She went inside and didn't come out for 2 hours. When she finally emerged, she was with Vic, and they were clearly arguing about something. I couldn't hear the conversation, but their body language told the story. Vic was gesturing aggressively. Zoya kept looking around nervously. Whatever they were discussing, it wasn't a friendly chat. They separated without any physical contact. No hug, no kiss, barely a handshake. Zoya drove away looking frustrated. I followed Vic instead. He drove to a bar called Murphy's Tavern in a strip mall about 10 minutes away. I waited 5 minutes, then went inside. The place was exactly what you'd expect. Dark wood, neon beer signs, locals nursing drinks and watching sports on multiple televisions. Vic was at the bar, already working on what looked like his second whiskey. I ordered a beer and sat 3 stools away, close enough to observe but far enough to avoid immediate confrontation. Vic was on his phone having what sounded like a heated conversation. I don't care what she says, this wasn't part of the deal. No, I'm not backing down now. She knew what this was from the beginning. He paused, listening to whoever was on the other end. Look, I've got bills to pay and a business to save. If she can't handle the pressure, that's her problem, not mine. Another pause. Fine. But I want my money first, all of it. Then we can talk about next steps. He hung up and ordered another drink. I finished my beer and left, but not before noting the time and adding the conversation to my growing file of evidence. That evening, Paul called with an update. I found your video sender, he said without preamble. Who was it? Tasha Kowalski, Zoya's business partner. That stopped me cold. Are you sure? Positive. The burner phone was purchased with cash, but the store had security cameras. I tracked the purchase to a woman matching Tasha's description, and the timestamp matches her credit card records from a gas station across the street 20 minutes later. Why would Zoya's business partner send me evidence of her affair? Good question. Want me to find out? Not yet. Let me think about this. After Paul hung up, I sat in my office trying to piece together the puzzle. Tasha Kowalski had been Zoya's business partner for 3 years. They'd built a successful real estate team together, specializing in high-end properties. They were friends, or at least appeared to be. So why would Tasha send me a video that would destroy Zoya's marriage and potentially damage their business partnership? The answer came to me around midnight. Money. I spent the next 3 hours researching Kowalski and Associates real estate, public records, business filings, professional licensing documents. What I found was interesting. The business was successful, but the profits weren't being split evenly. Zoya was listed as the primary agent on most of their high-value sales. Tasha handled more of the administrative work and smaller transactions. More importantly, Zoya had been making moves to establish her own independent practice. She'd filed paperwork for a new business license 6 months ago. She'd been slowly transferring her biggest clients to personal relationships rather than business ones. She was planning to leave the partnership and take most of the valuable clients with her. Tasha had sent me the video because she wanted to destroy Zoya before Zoya could destroy her. Tuesday morning, I called Tasha directly. We need to talk, I said when she answered. I don't think that's a good idea, Wilder. I know you sent me the video, Tasha. The question is whether we handle this privately or whether it becomes part of the court record. Silence for a long moment. Where do you want to meet? We agreed on a coffee shop in Edina, neutral territory, away from both of our usual haunts. Tasha looked nervous when I arrived. She'd always been the quieter of the two business partners, more detail-oriented, less flashy than Zoya. Today, she looked like someone who hadn't been sleeping well. "How did you know it was me?" she asked after we'd ordered coffee. "Security cameras and credit card records. My friend is very good at his job." "Are you going to turn me in?" "That depends. Why did you do it?" She stared into her coffee for a long moment. "Because she was going to screw me over. We built that business together, and she was planning to take everything and leave me with nothing." "So you decided to destroy her marriage instead?" "I decided to give you the information you needed to protect yourself. Do you have any idea what she was planning?" "Tell me." "She was going to divorce you, take half of everything, and use that money to start her own real estate company. She'd already been moving clients over, setting up the infrastructure. She was going to leave me holding the debt on our current business while she started fresh with all the profitable relationships." "And Vic?" "Was supposed to disappear once the divorce was final. She was using him to create grounds for the divorce, but she never intended to actually be with him long term." "How do you know all this?" "Because she told me. She thought I was her friend. She thought I'd just accept getting screwed over because we're like sisters." Tasha looked up at me with genuine anger in her eyes. "Your wife is a sociopath, Wilder. She manipulates everyone around her to get what she wants, and she doesn't care who gets hurt in the process. Will you testify to that in court?" "If I have to. But I'd prefer to handle this quietly." "What do you want?" "I want her out of our business partnership. I want her to honor our existing contracts, and I want her to stop pretending she's the victim in all this." I studied her face. Tasha was scared, angry, and desperate. That made her dangerous, but it also made her useful. "I might be able to help with that," I said, "but I'm going to need more than just your testimony." "What do you need?" "I need documentation of her business plans. I need evidence of client manipulation. And I need anything else you have that shows her pattern of deception." "I can get that." "Then we have a deal." As I drove home, I realized that the war had just shifted dramatically. Zoya thought she was fighting one opponent, but she was actually surrounded by enemies. The question was whether I could coordinate them effectively enough to win. The evidence package Tasha delivered Thursday evening was devastating. Emails detailing Zoya's plan to dissolve their partnership, client lists she'd copied to personal accounts, financial records showing she'd been steering the most profitable deals to herself while leaving Tasha with the administrative overhead. Most damaging were the text messages between Zoya and Vic, dating back 8 months. The affair had been planned from the beginning, designed specifically to create grounds for divorce while making me look like the neglectful husband who'd driven her into another man's arms. "This is perfect," Thomas Brennan said when I showed him the evidence Friday morning. "This completely undermines her narrative about the video being a cry for help. This shows premeditation, manipulation, and fraud." "What's our next move?" "We file an emergency motion to modify the temporary custody arrangement. With this evidence, I can argue that Zoya is an unfit parent who's been using Mira as a pawn in an elaborate scheme to defraud you in the divorce." "Will it work?" "It should. Judges hate being lied to, and Margaret Steinberg just filed 47 pages of lies with the court." The emergency hearing was scheduled for Monday morning. I spent the weekend preparing for war. Sunday evening, Mira came home from spending the weekend at Zoya's apartment. She looked confused and upset. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Mom says you're trying to take me away from her. She says you're lying about the video and trying to make her look bad because you're angry about the divorce." I sat down across from her at the kitchen table. "Mira, I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to really listen. Your mother has been planning this divorce for almost a year. She's been having an affair with Vic specifically to create grounds for divorce. She recorded that video herself and had her business partner send it to me, thinking it would make me look like the bad guy. That's crazy. Why would she do that? Because she wanted to divorce me but keep most of our money and assets. She thought if she could make me look like an abusive, neglectful husband, she'd get a better settlement. Mira shook her head. I don't believe you. I have documentation, Mira. Text messages, emails, financial records. Your mother has been manipulating everyone. Me, you, Vic, her business partner, everyone. Show me. I hesitated. Showing a 16-year-old evidence of her mother's manipulation felt wrong, but letting her continue to be manipulated felt worse. I pulled out my laptop and showed her selected portions of the evidence. Nothing graphic or inappropriate, just enough to demonstrate the planning and premeditation. Mira read in silence for several minutes. When she looked up, there were tears in her eyes. She really planned all this? Yes. And she was using me to hurt you? Yes. What happens now? Now we go to court and let a judge decide what's best for everyone. Monday morning's hearing was brutal. Margaret Steinberg walked into court expecting to argue about my unstable behavior, and instead faced a carefully prepared presentation of documented evidence that completely undermined her client's credibility. Thomas Brennan methodically presented the text messages, emails, and financial records. He played selected portions of recorded phone calls. He introduced testimony from Tasha about Zoya's business manipulation and personal deception. The judge's expression grew darker with each piece of evidence. Ms. Steinberg, Judge Patricia Morrison said finally, your client has filed sworn statements with this court claiming she sent the video to her husband as a cry for help. This evidence suggests that's completely false. Your Honor, we'd like to request a continuance to review this new evidence. Motion denied. This evidence has been available to your client all along. She participated in creating most of it. The judge turned to Zoya, who was sitting at the defendant's table looking pale and shaken. Ms. Sornell, you've sworn under oath that your affair was the result of marital problems and that you sent the video to your husband voluntarily. This evidence suggests you planned the affair specifically to create grounds for divorce and that the video was sent by a third party without your knowledge. Do you have anything to say about these discrepancies? Zoya looked at her attorney, who nodded reluctantly. Your Honor, the situation is more complicated than I initially represented. I see. Mr. Brennan, what is your client requesting? Your Honor, we're requesting sole custody of the minor child, exclusive use of the marital home, and a restraining order preventing Ms. Sornell from contacting our client except through attorneys. Mrs. Steinberg? Your Honor, we request a continuance to properly respond to these allegations. Request denied. Based on the evidence presented today, I'm granting temporary sole custody to Mr. Sornell, effective immediately. Ms. Sornell will have supervised visitation rights pending a full custody evaluation. I'm also granting the restraining order. The gavel came down with the finality of a gunshot. Outside the courthouse, Zoya tried to approach me. Wilder, please, we need to talk about this. Talk to my attorney, I said, walking past her toward my car. You can't keep Mira from me. I'm her mother. You're a manipulative liar who used our daughter as a weapon. The judge agrees with me. Vic was waiting by my car, and he looked desperate. This is insane, man. You're destroying people's lives over a relationship that was already over. My relationship with my wife was over the moment she started planning to cheat on me 8 months ago. She loves you. This whole thing got out of hand, but she really loves you. I almost laughed. Vic, she was using you. You were a convenient tool for creating divorce grounds. She never intended to actually be with you long term. His expression shifted from desperation to confusion. That's not, she said. She said whatever you needed to hear to get you to cooperate, just like she told me whatever I needed to hear to keep me from suspecting anything. just like she told Mira whatever she needed to hear to turn her against me. I got in my car and drove away, leaving both of them standing in the courthouse parking lot. That evening, Mira and I ordered pizza and talked about the future. "Are you and Mom really never getting back together?" she asked. "No, we're not. What she did broke something that can't be fixed. I'm sorry I believed her stories about you. You're her daughter. You're supposed to believe your mother. She's the one who betrayed that trust, not you. What happens now? Now we figure out how to be a family of 2 instead of 3. We make new rules, new traditions, new plans. Will I still get to see Mom? Of course, she's still your mother. But you'll live here with me, and the visits will be supervised until the court is satisfied that she's not going to try to manipulate you again." Mira nodded and took another bite of pizza. "Dad? Yeah? I'm glad you fought for me. I'll always fight for you, Mira. That's what parents do." The war was over, but the victory felt hollow. I'd won custody of my daughter and exposed my wife's deception, but I'd also destroyed a 16-year marriage and shattered my family. As I watched Mira do homework at the kitchen table, our kitchen table in our house, I realized that sometimes winning and losing